Like many bookworms this time of year, I am looking back at all the books that I read and pitting them against each other to find the ultimate book. Not really. These are some of the favorite books that I came across this past year and what I liked about them, why maybe you should read them too. Here we go. So the first book I'm going to point out is for my fellow writers, or just fellow language lovers, is The Hobbits of Tolkien. I really got into Hobbits this year. You know, the idea of being super content and cozy at home for obvious reasons was really appealing, and this book surprised me. This is also the book that surprised me the most because it really goes into the language of all things Hobbit and the inspiration behind the creation of their entire culture. So if you really like language development, language history, this is a book that I would actually really highly recommend. Even if you aren't interested in fantasy at all, this is a great book. The Hobbits of Tolkien by David Day. I listened to them on audiobook, but I read all of the Spiderwick books over quarantine, and I just needed something easy and fun and whimsical, and the Spiderwick Chronicles definitely hit the mark. They're really quick reads. They're pretty short. This is just the notebook. It's an add-on book, but the Spiderwick Chronicles, if you just enjoy a fun fantasy, like a little adventure, and you're not above reading kids' books, I would definitely suggest them. Like a lot of other readers this year, I got a lot of reading done, and I bought more books than probably I should have. And this was one of them. This is a book I've been meaning to read for quite a long time. I read the original series, you know, City of Bones and all that, years ago. Absolutely fell in love with them, and for obvious reasons, I really wanted to go back to a fantasy world that I found very comforting and was really adventurous, and I wanted to revisit some old characters, kind of revisit some old book friends, if you will, and this did not disappoint. There's great relationships going on. I mean, as always, she makes great characters. Cassandra Clare makes, I mean, it's already a fantastic world, and she keeps populating it with more and more interesting characters, and this is no exception. In addition to reading a lot of books about hobbits, I read a lot of books about Da Vinci this year. And in fact, I got a tattoo with Da Vinci's handwriting because I'm a big fan. This has been my favorite book, though, about Leonardo da Vinci, and it is How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. So this isn't just explaining the life of Da Vinci. This is how to think like Leonardo da Vinci. It's how you can develop, you know, those parts of your life that he really valued into something really extraordinary. So he really valued observation. So there's a section on how to observe, how to really see the world, and at the end of each section there are little exercises you can do to increase those skills, so increase your powers of observation. And this is definitely something I'm already starting to reread it, because you're gonna read through it, get some great ideas, and then start you know, implementing these things into your life. And then you're gonna want to kind of go back, check in on yourself, because there are self-assessments for each section as well, and just further develop yourself and develop these different areas of life. So How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, if you are a fan of self-development, self-improvement, the Renaissance, or Da Vinci, I would highly recommend this book. Another book I read about Da Vinci this year is The Science of Leonardo. Now, because what we still have of Da Vinci is a lot of his paintings and his sketches, you know, the notebooks of Da Vinci are famous, and we really know those, but at the time, Leonardo was really known, I mean, he was known for many things. He was considered a great architect as well. How he made a lot of his fame for a good chunk of his life was he worked on plays. He created music. None of his scores have survived to this day, but he would make a lot of really amazing mechanisms. I mean, he had a mechanized lion that would walk on its own, and then lilies bloomed out of its chest. And it was because there was a certain relationship between the king and the church and all that, and so there was a lot of symbolism involved with it. But like, just think about the skill set and the knowledge you would need today to make a mechanized lion that would walk on its own, let alone back in the day. A lot of his ideas were way ahead of his time, and we're just starting to understand just how genius this man was. So this goes into not just the mechanicals that he created, the mechanics rather, that he made. You know, his engineering skills, you know, we kind of know are amazing, but what we don't appreciate as much is he was also a great anatomist and mathematician. And we still don't know to a point just how advanced his mathematics were, because they haven't been fully organized and interpreted. So this was really eye-opening. So I think as far as learning more about the accomplishments of Da Vinci, this book was amazing. I got this book because every once in a while I would come across little snippets of it, and they just seemed so hilarious. I've never read 50 Shades, but I have read Twilight, and I know the connection between the two, and this book does nothing but mock them in the most glorious fashion. I mean, I've never had a book make me laugh out loud so much. This book is ridiculous. It's hilarious. It doesn't get too raunchy, thank goodness, but it's definitely funny. It makes fun of everything, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So, if you want a funny book, and you had a good sense of humor about those other stories, like, this is definitely funny. This is a book I have been meaning to read for years. I think I got this probably at a library sale forever ago. I don't even remember. But I have been putting this on my TBR shelf, again, for years, and I just haven't read it. So I finally buckled down Black Wings by Christina Henry. And this was a pleasant surprise. I think part of why I put it off for so long is I assumed because it's, you know, kind of a small mass market paperback, it wouldn't be that well written. But it is really good. I enjoy the characters a lot, the world is intriguing, and I didn't know it before, but this is actually part of a series, which I am happy about, because I definitely want to find out more about this world that she created and spend more time with these characters. So I'm excited to delve into that. Quite literally, biggest reading challenge I gave myself this year was, over the course of October, I told myself I was going to finish the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. I'm very happy I did. I was not very far through. I don't even think I was more than 100 pages by much through this book. And there are over 1,000 pages in this book. It's really freaking big. Now, obviously, if you're someone that likes, you know, sci-fi, horror, cosmic horror, I mean, this is like the inventor of cosmic horror. So this was definitely, as far as from a writer's perspective, a really good book to read. You get to find out what works, what doesn't. You know, there is a reason why so many authors that have done really well in the sci-fi and horror genres say that a big chunk of their inspiration is Lovecraft. I was also very happily surprised because I had decided last year that this was going to be a challenge I gave myself this year. And then Lovecraft Country came out this year, and because I had read this entire thing, I was able to get a lot of the references that they made throughout the series. So I recommend reading this, I recommend watching the show, and I mean, they're classics for a reason. And last but not least, this has been my favorite book of the year. This is The City of Silk and Steel. I actually got this from a bookstore that, unfortunately, it closed down because of quarantine. It wasn't an essential business and they just couldn't keep their doors open. So I have a little memento, at least from them. And this book is awesome. So this is a book about a city known as Bessa. There was a sultan, and it's just, oh man. It takes place over many years. There are strong, complex female characters in this book. Honestly, I enjoyed every word of this book. This is a fantastic read. I would highly recommend it. I definitely think reading about different peoples and cultures is also really important. I mean, this takes place, you know, in the Middle East way back in the day. So this has been my favorite read. I can't really oversell it because I thought it was fantastic. It's got a little bit of fantastical elements to it. One of the main characters, like, she cries ink, and you get to see some djinn, and it's really interesting. So you get to not only, you know, see a lot of, you know, strong, complex female characters, you also get to see them grow and develop. So character development is something I'm a big sucker for. So seeing it over the course of many years layered on top of characters that are already really interesting was a really big treat. And of course it takes place in the desert, which I don't know why, but I'm a sucker for. And it's a bit of a fantasy book, so it ticked all the marks for me. So this one's my favorite. Let me know if any of these books seem like something that you want to check out now. If not, let me know why. Let me know what books you found this year that you were surprised by, that you loved. And as always, likes, comments, and subscribes are wildly appreciated, and I will see you in the next chapter.